why would we pick die casting? And hopefully we had a huge turnout for this webinar series. We in fact had, we filled up, I believe, in the first couple of days. And hopefully that means that everyone knows why we want die casting. Die casting is a modern technology. In fact, if you look in the world of metal casting, die casting is really one of the youngest metal casting processes. It really is only 150 years old, 200 years old. And when you consider that people have been making metal castings for thousands of years, that's a very young technology. One of the big advantages we have is we can make these very intricate shapes at a net shape. And so we get economies in this, the higher yield out of our castings, as well as avoiding any secondary operations wherever possible. These castings can be made pressure tight. We can get fantastic surface qualities out of these castings. We get a wide range of mechanical properties, and we can do all this at a very high production rate in a recyclable material. And so if we look at where the world is going, particularly aluminum and zinc and magnesium alloys are fantastic for greener applications, and they're all very recyclable materials. And so it makes them a great resource for us as we try to satisfy the world's demands. And since we have all these advantages, die casting has found its way into a host of different end markets. And I looked very briefly through the list of people who are dialing in today, and what we saw on that list was that we pretty much have every single one of these industries represented on the line today. And by far and away, automotive vehicles is the largest customer of die casting, and that's just because we make a lot of die castings for cars, and there's a lot of cars in the world. But that doesn't mean that there aren't a lot of very unique and exciting applications in other industries such as hand tools, home appliances, building hardware. And so you just see this broad range of applications for die castings. And I do want to point out today that this webinar series is actually being sponsored by 3 die casting companies that you see on the lower left-hand corner. And these particular die casting companies are custom and precision die casting companies, so they actually serve many of these end markets. If not, I believe all 3 of these die casting companies serve all 3 or all of these markets that you see on this slide. So design is very critical for us to have a successful use of the die casting technology. If we want to fully utilize die casting, we need to know about die casting. And so why should a die caster learn, or why should a designer learn about die casting? I pulled this quote out of this book called Design for Six Sigma, and this quote really, I think, should be sobering to everybody on the line. What it says is most companies spend about 5% of their budget on the design, but typically the design accounts for 70% of the cost of the product, and 80% of the quality problems are unwittingly designed into the casting. So if I know nothing about die casting, if I just use my design methodologies that I'm taught in a college course or in my college engineering courses, I will tend to design a machined component. And when I go try to die cast that component, some of the decisions I've made because they're easy to draw or because they'd be easy to machine are really not the right decisions for die casting. And so unknowingly, we're designing in these very difficult to produce features in the die castings just because we don't understand the process. And so hopefully